Winnie? Do you live? Are you alive? She's could care less about what's happening with me right now. Hi kids, welcome back to another pizza party. I'm Mrs. Pizza. This is Winnie. She lays this way. She's very tired. We just got done pet sitting for 2 other dogs. There were 3 dogs and 2 birds here. I think she's a little exhausted. She's got a little bit of a house guest hangover. She's a little tired. Today, we are here to do my final recent reads wrap up of the year 2022, or as I'm going to call it, 22, because when it was the 90s, everybody just said 99 and 98, and now we got to say the whole thing again? No, I'm here for abbreviations. The year 22. You know which 22 I'm talking about. Good Lord. Who is she? What is she talking about? So, the end of my year wasn't fantastic, but it was the end of my year. I did make it to 200 books this year. Yes, I know. Pretty impressive. If you didn't make it to 200 books this year, if you read 1 book this year, I'm proud of you. I am so proud of you. If you read no books this year, that's okay too, I guess. I'm not here to judge or shame anybody, and I don't want to be judged or shamed because I read 200 books. It is what I do with my free time. It is my free time, and I read 200 books in that free time. Were they all great? No, a lot of them weren't, but that's okay. I did my best. Let's just get to the damn point. The first book we're going to talk about is, I think it's right here. Oh, easily accessible and only slightly dusty, is Eclipse the Moon by Jessie. Mihalik. I am terrible at pronouncing anything. I can literally listen to the pronunciation of something 10 times and then immediately try and pronounce it and do it wrong. My brain does not pronounce things. This is the second book in what is the name of this series? This is the second book in this series. The first book was Hunt the Stars. This one is following 2 characters. Basically, in the first book, you were introduced to a ragtag group of characters that all used to work in the military and have now taken up mercenary type work. In the first book, the captain is words. What are words? Hired? Oh my God. I just forgot the word hired. My brain is mush. It's the end of the year. My brain is mush. I mean, at the beginning of the year, my brain will also be mush, but we'll just blame it on it being after the holidays, my brain being mush. In the first book, the captain of this crew is hired by the opposing side of the war, basically a group of aliens. We're going to call them aliens. They're like humans with superpowers, but they look like humans. Apparently, they look like super dreamy, attractive humans, but basically hired by their counterpoint, because our captain used to be a war hero on the human side, but on the opposite side of the war, this person was a war hero as well. And the first book is the enemies to lovers situation romance between both kind of leaders of these groups. In the second book, we are following 2 members of the different crews. The human crew member, I believe her name is Key. Yes, Key is kind of our computer hacker extraordinaire. She's got rainbow hair and it's supposed to be like quirky pixie dream girl-esque, but she's very smart and seems like a very fun character. She's also quite a flirt, and she has gotten on the bad side, or he actually got on her bad side pretty quickly, of the other crew. His name is Varro. It sounds like he's huge and scary and super strong, and they got off onto the wrong foot. Key has tried numerous attempts to get super flirty with this dreamboat of an alien, and he does not seem receptive, so she has decided to just quit being annoying and flirting with him all the time because he's not into it. He is into it. He's big, quiet, and grumpy, and incredibly handsome, and he's into it. This book was fine. I enjoyed the first book a lot more. I will say I think this book lacked because there's a lot of like computer hacking going on, and that is really hard to make interesting in a book setting because it's a lot of a person sitting at a computer making things happen. If it happens in like a movie or a TV show, they like play fast Matrix music and you get some techno and some numbers on the screen. In a book, they can't do that. They have to describe what's happening, and it's really not exciting for me to read about computer hacking is what it comes down to. So this book was fine. I will continue on with the series. I think the next one is going to follow 2 other characters that are members of both teams. This is just like these 2 groups are just going to pair off all the way down the line. but that one was fine. The next book I picked up after that one was a total surprise, totally not planning to pick it up, and that was because I didn't even know it was going to exist. If you know anything about me, one of my favorite alien romance series is the Rizdaverse by Miss Ruby Dixon, and she dropped a little holiday novella in the Rizdaverse for us. And what did I do? Scoop that bad boy up and immediately canceled all my plans and read When She's Merry. This one is cute and fun, and just like all of the other books in the Rizdaverse, well, aside from one, there's like one that doesn't take place on Rizda 3, but basically the whole premise of the series is all these women that were at one point kidnapped from Earth and found themselves in various horrible circumstances have now been liberated from whatever those circumstances were and taken to a refugee planet started by a alien that fell in love with a human, and so he's trying to give these humans a chance at life because they can't go back to Earth because Earth is illegal, but also humans are kind of illegal too. Anyways, Rizda 3 is this farming planet where all of these women are given a plot of land, some secondhand equipment, and told to go farm and live their lives. In these Rizdaverse novels, it is mostly about these women finding love, whether it be with some of the locals, they're alien romance novellas. Of course, they're on a farming planet. They own a little piece of land, and through various different reasons, they have to be finding husbands. It's fun. Are you judging me? Stop it. Let me like what I like. In When She's Merry, we have our character, Devon, who is doing okay. I mean, she had a rough go of it, but she's now on Rizda 3 and she's trying to make the best of it. And she has come in contact with another human whose name was, let's see, let me show you how bad my pronunciation of everything is. Lisha? I'm going with Lisha. The internet says several things. I'm going with Lisha. So Devon has come in contact with Lisha. She is older than most of the women. I feel like on Rizda 3, most of the women fall somewhere between like early 20s, early 30s, somewhere in that demographic. Lisha is older. She has a grown adult son. I don't know much about, and I don't think we're given much insight into what happened to her between the time she was abducted to ending up on Rizda 3, but she's depressed. And rightfully so. And so Devon takes it upon herself to try and do some nice things for her neighbor to try and help her kind of see that even though she's had a hard life and she probably didn't want to end up on Rizda 3, there's still a reason to get up in the morning. So she enlists one of the local, I'm going to call them police force again because I really don't know what to call them. Basically, they are there sort of like a small town police. His name is Sintha, and he is kind of a class clowny type character, makes a lot of really fun kind of jokes, always trying to make people laugh, a little bit self-deprecating, but fun. He also isn't as large and endowed as some of the other aliens on this planet. He comes across as more of just like a big human guy instead of a mountain of a person. But these two decide to have a kind of hybrid alien mishmash Christmas situation. They basically Frankenstein a Christmas holiday together by finding bits and pieces of things that kind of relate to Christmas. A lot of the fun of this book is the humor in a human trying to explain to an alien about Christmas traditions, and when you break them down, some of them are just weird. Just weird. We don't know why we do what we do. I'm sure it's, some leftover pagan tradition that at one point made sense and now it has just been gift wrapped and given to us, and we don't really understand why we do what we do. There's a lot of good laughs in this. Devon is a fun character. So is Sitha or Sintha or Satha. I don't know how to pronounce anything. I don't know how to pronounce anything. Who am I? How do we get here? I don't know how words work. But this one was a lot of fun, and I'm going to keep reading all of the Ristaverse novels that come out because I love the Ristaverse. I love a Ruby Dixon alien romance. If you haven't read a Ruby Dixon alien romance and you're looking for a good little palate cleanser with some spicy times, help yourself, help yourself out. The next book I picked up after that, I actually listened to on audio, and that was The Holiday Trap by Roan Parrish. And I really enjoyed this book. This is a obviously holiday romance, but kind of with the same premise as the movie The Holiday, that one with Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz and Jude Law and Jack Black. And every time I talk about The Holiday, I have to list the entire cast. It's a me problem. This one follows Greta. She lives in a small town in Maine and has a very close-knit but almost suffocating family that is just all up in her business. Something happens and Greta just needs to get away. And so she is introduced through a friend of hers to Truman. Now, Truman has just had his heart broken in pieces, and he lives in a beauty city in the beautiful city of New Orleans, and he needs to get away. So this friend in common helps these two house swap for the holidays. So Truman heads to Maine, Greta heads to New Orleans. Now, the fun in this, obviously the same as in the movie The Holiday, is that with each one switching places, they kind of have their own little small town romance in a brand new place. Greta's romance is a little more spicy and speedy. Truman's romance is a little bit more slow burn and sweet. So if you like either one of those, there's a little bit of something for everyone, and you'll probably have a favorite. Mine was Truman's. I think it was just Truman. I think Truman as a character was adorable. He bullet journals, and that's adorable. I don't even do that, but the way he talked about it, I was like, Truman, you precious baby angel. I only wish the best for you. This one was a lot of fun. I had never read anything from this author before, but I loved this little holiday romance and got me through the Christmas times. The next book I picked up after that was Santa Baby by Cassie Mint, and I don't have a lot of luck with Cassie Mint books, but a lot of people seem to, so I keep picking them up, and I need to stop because you're allowed to, not like something. This book was fine. It wasn't terrible. It was just very forgettable. It's basically the story of this girl. It's a novella, so it's super short, but when she was, I think she was like 18, 17. She's a teenager. She's super young. She runs away from home for reasons, ends up on this doorstep that happens to be a bar, and the guy that owns the bar not only gives her a job but lets her live upstairs, and I guess there's like a room above the bar. Fast forward a couple years later, these two are just making big heart eyes at each other, but neither one seems to notice that the other one is just like goo goo gaga over the other one until Christmas Eve. Things happen. For a teeny tiny smutty novella, the smut was like really short and the book was really short, and I don't even remember the characters' names, and I don't care enough to look them up. It was fine, but if you're looking for something holiday feeling, there's better options. It's a girl and a guy fall in love on Christmas Eve in a bar. I mean, that could, honestly, I would read that if that was, I did, and I didn't like it. Let's move on. The next book I picked up after that was Alien Orc for Christmas. And this one is by Ursa Dax. I had read Chimera for Christmas at the beginning of the month, getting prepared with all my alien Christmas romances. And because I enjoyed Chimera for Christmas so much, I decided to pick this one up as well. And I didn't love it as much as the first one. I'm going to be honest. Chimera for Christmas. You also you don't have to have read Chimera for Christmas, but it helps. It happens before this one. I think it's like a year prior. So Chimera for Christmas happens on Christmas, and then a year later on Christmas, Alien Orc for Christmas happens. It was fine. It's a girl who comes to this giant alien space station situation that also happens to be a mall, and she's going to open up a bakery. She's using the inheritance I believe she got from her grandmother's passing to open up this bakery, and she's super excited. And our characters from Chimera for Christmas are her best friend, and then obviously her best friend's now husband, and they're going to help her out as well. But the business next door to her brand new bakery is this really cool tavern pub thing that is run by alien orcs. And the alien orc meets her and takes his shirt off a lot. It was fine. It was fine. It was forgettable, is how we'll put it. It was forgettable. That was how I feel like the end of my year reading went. Most of it was just kind of forgettable, but I was also just reading things that were fast to just keep moving. I didn't want to slump, Didn't want 2022 to end on a slumpy slump. Okay. The next book I picked up after that, I actually got on audio from the library, and that was Meet Me Under the Mistletoe by Jenny Bayliss. I DNF'd this at the 75% mark, I believe it was. I made it more than halfway through, so it counts. This was the story of Nori and she is coming back to her small English hometown with her group of snobby face friends because two of the friends in the friend group are getting married and they've rented out a legit castle. Now, leading up to the marriage in the castle, they've also rented the castle out for the week prior so they can all hang out and reconnect. They all went to this really prestigious boarding school that's kind of adjacent to the castle. So this castle has, the memories and the nostalgias and whatnot. But Nori comes back and she is with this group of friends, but she is from more humble beginnings. Her family lives in this small town. This book really focused a lot on the drama of the friend group and not as much on the romance between Nori and her brother's best friend, who also happens to work at the castle because he's the gardener, the head. I feel like he needs a more special name than the gardener because he does a lot of stuff, but he's a castle gardener. That's prestigious, right? I believe his name was Isaac. Was it Isaac? Am I just naming this man something different? Isaac, I am correct. I felt like this book would have been a really fun TV show, like limited miniseries situation. One season only. Just the friends had so much drama. He's cheating on his wife. These two are getting married. His wife is in another country and also pregnant and having to travel here. Somebody has unalived themselves previously. And then you've got this one character that I've kept forgetting she existed because she didn't have a whole lot of drama other than kind of being like a stone cold all the time. But like a good one, not a bad one. She just didn't have much of a personality. One of them's dating like a supermodel. There was so much drama that it really took away. This was not a romance. This was a contemporary friendship drama that had like a little romance happening in the background, which is fine if that's what you wanted. But I thought I was getting a holiday romance, and that's not what I got. I would watch this as a TV show because the drama was juicy. But as a book where I'm wanting cozy holiday romance with the gardener vibes, and instead I'm getting their marriage is falling apart and they're getting married and what's happening over there. It was too much. I could have cared less. And so I DNF'd it because DNFing is self-care and I was done with it. But it counts because I was over halfway through. The next book I picked up after that, I think it's right here. Look at that. Look at me having books on hand. Was A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This skinny little everybody knows this story. Ebenezer Scrooge gets visited by three ghosts because he's kind of an awful dude, and the ghosts are trying to make him not an awful dude anymore, and in the end, he's not an awful dude anymore. I have actually never read this before. I've watched the Muppet version like 150 times. Bye, you leaving? Please don't bark. She's just gonna go gaze out the window and protect her property from intruders. But I decided to pick it up, and I know this is in the public domain, so there's 1.5 million versions of this now, but this was a lot of fun, and I'm glad I read it. And it's really accessible for something that was written a really long time ago. I enjoyed it. Christmas time, reading Christmas Carol. The book I picked up after that one was Railed by Krampus by Dalia Davies. I have read Railed by the Easter Bunny by the same author, and it's much better than it has any business being. That's what I'm going to say about that one. This one I picked up because I knew it took place in the same world where there's gods and lore and all sorts of things. I think I still enjoyed Railed by the Easter Bunny more, but this one was a lot of fun. This is a story of Holly. She's come on hard times. Her parents have both passed away, and she's in charge of her two younger siblings. And in this town that she lives, she's struggling. Holly's struggling. So she makes a deal with a god, as the people in these books do, and the god that she makes a deal with is Santa Claus. There you go. She is then given a certain number of tasks that she has to complete in order to get whatever prize they have negotiated. But in order with dealing with Santa Claus, she also has to deal with Krampus. She has to travel to him a lot through these like doorways that get made out of fireplaces. It was interesting. I enjoyed it. I liked a lot of the lore. There was a lot of birds given to him as gifts, and it's even mentioned in the book, like, what are you doing with all these birds? But I enjoyed the world that Dalia Davies has created, and I wanted to read some spicy times about Krampus, and this was one of the better ones that I found, so I enjoyed it. If you're into monster romances with really interesting extracurricular equipment, I mean, this happened. This happened, and I read it, and I can feel you judging me. Stop it. The next book I picked up was from another series that I've thoroughly enjoyed reading this year, another alien romance series at that too. Really, when I'm just feeling like slumps, my bird is screaming in the background. If you can hear her, I apologize. But I'm not going to stifle her. If she wants to scream, that's her deal. I find a lot of comfort in alien romance series. You know what you're getting, and they're a lot of fun. And I picked up I Married a Beast, and this is from the Prime Mating Agency series. I believe that's what it's called. Basically, the whole premise of this entire series is that women, through different circumstances, end up having to go to the Prime Mating Agency to get matched with their happily ever afters. She's just tweeting along. Beautiful, thank you. Each book has different circumstances that bring the women into the Prime Mating Agency's orbit, and they have one. Are you really only gonna sing when I'm talking? In this one, our female main character is actually a little bit more refreshing because she is one that goes in to the Prime Mating Agency with her eyes wide open and her arms wide open, and she says, I am into monsters, give me the craziest one you can find. And so our empath, who kind of is in every single book, but he is the one in charge of basically finding your perfect match, knows exactly who he's going to match her with. And it is actually I'm going to call him villain, kind of bad guy from the other book in the series known as I Married a Naga. So if you haven't read I Married a Naga, you might miss a little bit of what's going on in this book because some of it is set up in that book. It's been a while since I read that book, but it was easy to pick up kind of what was going on. Most of these books you can pick up without having read any of the other books. I would read I Married a Naga before I read this one. But her beastie man has got two of everything. He's got 2 sets of eyes. He's got 4 arms, so he's got 2 sets of arms. He's got other things. He's got double other things. And I enjoyed this one. These books are super low angst. You know that they're going to end up happy because they have been matched as soulmates. So it's easy and it's low angst, and I enjoyed it. And I'm going to keep going. Regine, Abel, I will keep reading your Prime Mating Agency series. And I'm here for it. The last book that we are going to talk about is something very different for me. But again, I wanted to start up my rereading or reading of things that were considered classic literature, whether that be classic literature as in the, sitting in a college class learning about classic literature, or things that are backlist. Classic fantasy, classic sci-fi, but things that are a little bit older that I should have gotten to by now. So I picked up Emma by Jane Austen, and I was like, everyone, I'm going to read my first Jane Austen novel because I am classy. I'm not as classy as I thought. I was so bored. This is just people talking to each other. I don't know what anybody looked like because nobody was described except by other people talking about them. If you love Jane Austen, I am happy for you. And maybe this was the wrong novel to start with, but I thought I liked the movie Clueless, and that's an Emma retelling, so I will like Emma. I did not like it. All that to say, I thought I was a classy lady, and I'm not. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I read a bunch of alien romances and had a great time. It's okay if I don't like Jane Austen. Maybe I will try her again in the future. Maybe she's just not for me, and that's fine. But that, kids, is the end of this pizza party. That is the end of my most recent reads. The last most recent reads of the year 22. We made it. We did it. Look at us doing things. Surviving. But I hope you're reading great books out there wherever you are. And this next year, I'm getting back. I'm feeling my fantasy era returning. I can't wait to talk to you in the year 23 about all the fun stuff I'll be reading. But I'll see you next time.